Do not reject when you feel rejected. And I know it's human nature and most people do it. But if you're feeling rejected, what you really need to do is be vulnerable and say how you're actually feeling. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. And I think it's really all too common that, if someone's breaking up with us or someone's pulling back, then like we get angry and we reject them. And far too often, people feel like their partner might be pulling back from them. So they break up with them because they want to be the one to reject before they get rejected, right? I think that's very common. But unfortunately, sometimes relationships that could have been really good blow up because somebody rejected because they felt rejected or they felt like they were going to be rejected. And that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it, because vulnerability is necessary. I mean, an absolute requirement in maintaining a healthy, loving relationship. And I know it's really scary to be vulnerable when you feel like someone maybe doesn't care about you the same way you care about them. But how do you know that? Maybe they actually do. And maybe if you actually tell them how you feel, it will change how they feel about you. And that's my entire point. I think, unfortunately, and look, I've been guilty of this. I mean, the greatest mistake of my life, I've told a lot of people, I was in what I thought was the best relationship I ever had with the man that I thought was the best man that I'd ever had. And we were kind of at a little bit of impasse about something. And I broke up with him. And I stormed out and I went downstairs. There was a Starbucks downstairs. This was in New York. And I stopped to get coffee. It was in the morning. I'd stayed at his place, right? And every fiber of my being told me to go back upstairs and tell him how much I loved him and that I didn't want to break up with him, that I was really hoping that we were going to get married and start a family, which is what we had talked about. And that's what we were arguing about, really, because he was like dragging his heels about that. But I ignored that instinct. And we'd seen a therapist who had suggested that we take a 30-day break. So at the end of 30 days, I called him and he jumped to see me and get together with me. But he was so angry at me that I had broken up with him that he never took me back. And I mean, never took me back. And I do realize that he had commitment issues, right? And I gave him the out. So he took it, which I don't recommend doing. And that's kind of my whole motivation about talking about this, because it's human nature to reject somebody when we feel like they're rejecting us, right? It's like, I'm going to hurt you before you can hurt me, right? Is kind of the message behind that. But it's really not in your best interest. And if you can take a beat and really, I mean, look, here's the thing too, right? Like the emotional response center is the quick to respond. And that's coming from our emotional response center. But the more logical reasoning part of our brain takes a few more minutes to kick in and engage, right? But it's going to have a much better time once it does, right? Like Daniel Goleman in Emotional Intelligence called it the high road and the low road. And he said, unfortunately, by the time the high road kicks in, it spends all of its time trying to make up for what the low road messed up. And that's exactly my point, right? By rejecting because you feel rejected, now you miss the person and you feel sorry and you're thinking all sorts of things that you'd like to say, but it's too late because you rejected them, which brought up all sorts of feelings for them. And if they have commitment issues, then you just gave them the out that they were looking for, right? So like, and most people don't know that they have commitment issues if they have commitment issues actually, but because they want a commitment with all of their heart and soul. They're just not capable of making one, right? But without getting off topic, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and really express what you're feeling. And I know it's scary. It's really scary to tell somebody, I love you with all of my heart and soul, and I really just want to make this work with you, right? I mean, that's essentially what you want to say. But instead, fight or flight really is what it is, kicks in and wants to reject and get away from because you're feeling unloved. You're feeling like it's not working, but you're making it worse. And unfortunately, I've done that far too many times in my life, which is why I'm talking about it and encouraging you not to do that. Be careful, before you reject somebody or break up with somebody or walk away from somebody. I mean, now I am a fan of taking a break, but tell them why, right? You can't just walk out so that you can think about it and then come back at a different time without telling them why. You can say, hey, look, let's just time out here. Let's just take a pause. I just need some time to process what's going on here. I just need to take a step back. And I think that's a healthy way to handle it so that your partner knows that you're doing, and hopefully your partner will let you do that. If your partner does that to you, please allow them the space to do that, because unfortunately, all too often, one partner needs to take the step back and then the other partner is chasing after them and not wanting to give them that time, and then blows up all sorts of stuff because they're just too impatient or too insecure, really, to let them walk away. But it's good for you, right? I made another podcast the other day about why you need to give your man space, because he thinks and feels separately if he's right-handed. But that's true of everybody. I think everybody thinks better if they take a step back and allow the more reasoning center of their brain some time to kick in and to be more reasonable about what's going on. So give yourself time to do that. And I think you'll be really happy that you did. Unfortunately, a lot of relationships break up that didn't need to break up if you just sit and had an honest conversation about it, right? And that's true too. Like, I made a video years ago called Don't Let Your Best Conversation Be Your Last, because I think when people get to a point where they're done, they feel like they can be completely honest because they have nothing to lose. But I think you should do that before you decide to get out, because you might be able to fix things that aren't working, right? Like, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and your partner can't read your mind. So if things are bothering you, instead of bailing out and telling your partner what didn't work as you're got one foot out the door, sit down and have a real vulnerable heart-to-heart with your partner and tell them what's not working. And you can make behavioral requests, right? If there's something that you need your partner to do or really want your partner to do, you can share that with them. And it's up to them whether they want to do that or not, but they don't know unless you ask. And by asking, you might be pleasantly surprised. And sometimes it's something that your partner is feeling too and just hasn't brought up either, right? Sometimes you're both harboring the same thing and you just need to sit down and talk about it to clear the air, as you say, right? Don't reject when you feel rejected, because I think it's human nature and it destroys so many relationships. And it's really hard to go backwards once you've blown something up by rejecting someone. I mean, look, everybody has kind of fragile egos and everybody's a little insecure. So if you break up with somebody, that sends a really harsh message. And you might not be able to undo that. Just think about it. Next time you're feeling a little rejected, that it's better to be vulnerable and open than to reject back because you feel rejected. So do me a favor and hit like underneath this video if you did like it, if I did help you, because it'll help me get more people to be able to view my videos. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, or if you agree or disagree, or if you have a topic that you want me to make a video about, I'd be more than happy to do that. And I look forward to seeing you in my next episode. Thanks for watching.